record. Okay, so today, wait, sorry, one second. Let me make sure I'm doing that. Okay, cool. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about this morning are Git and GitHub. So they sound similar, but they are two completely different things. So Git is software that we use locally on our machine. It's a tool that a lot of programmers use for version control. We'll talk about it in a second. And then GitHub, you're already a little bit familiar with. You should have a GitHub handle. And that is a repository in the cloud, right? So these are two different things. We're going to cover them separately. So right now, we're just going to talk about Git, this is local software that you use locally on your machine. Does anybody have any experience with Git? Has anybody ever used Git before? Christina, a little bit? Could you? What is your understanding of what it is and how it works?
It's pretty much where you can put your profile or your code up to a repository that saves it, so you can make sure that if your computer ever crashes, it's somewhere in the cloud.
That's GitHub, not Git. No, but that is exactly what GitHub is. Yes, that's GitHub. Git is what we do to control version on our machine, right? So I want to make sure that we separate these things in our brain because they are two different things. So let's say you are writing like a paper, right? I used to be a writing teacher, and so my students would have this problem. My coworkers were writers, so they were always working on some writing project, right? And you might be writing this paper, and you do multiple drafts of the paper. And on maybe you're writing it in Microsoft Word because you're doing it 20 years ago. And you write a little bit of your paper, you save. You write a little bit more, and you save. And what it's really doing is it's just saving like your most recent draft. Right? This becomes a problem though, because if you've ever written like a long paper or you've worked on something a little bit like a longer paper or something, and you go through multiple drafts, you might say like, oh, I have like 2 different introductory paragraphs and I'm not sure which one I want to use yet. I'm citing I have my citing sources that I'm keeping up with, and drafts evolve in like a more organic way. And so what would end up happening with my students or my own writing is I would have dozens of files like in a folder, right? I would have like draft 1 file, draft 2 file, draft 3, or I would have them all labeled with dates or something like that. And then it's a mess of being like, oh, what draft did I have that intro paragraph that I wanted to use? Or did oh my God, I deleted that entire section and I forgot to save it somewhere, right? So it just becomes really hard to keep track of changes. This is a huge problem when you're coding, because you might code something out one way and then you might discover that maybe your parameters for what you are trying to accomplish change, maybe a new feature needs to be introduced. And if you're constantly overriding something that works, like you might have a draft of your code that works, and then you might implement a new feature, and now you've broken everything, and now you don't even have that draft that worked anymore, right? Because you keep saving over it. Does that make sense? Right? So Git tries to solve this problem, and it does it in a couple of different ways. Oh, so then imagine you're doing that, and then imagine you have 12 people writing that paper with you, right? And they're emailing you their updates, and you're trying to merge all this bullshit together, right? It becomes a mess. So Git tries to solve this problem because you'll often be working on projects with more than one person, and you'll want some version of your code that always works, right? And so Git solves this problem with this idea of branches. So what we have with Git is this is kind of a graph or a visualization of kind of how Git works, right? So up at the top here, I have this line. This is our master branch, right? And this should be a branch. This should be a saved state of my code that always works, right? And so whenever I want to maybe make changes to my code, I open that file or that project. It could be many, many files. It probably will be many files. I open that project, and then I can tell Git, hey, I want to like start working on this code, but I don't want to mess up the master branch. Master branch is like my working branch. I don't want to mess that up. So take everything that's in my master branch. You can say this little dot is like, these dots are like save points, okay? So like here I save my code, it works. Here I save my code, it's totally working. Here I save it, it's totally working. And now I want to add a feature, right? So instead of messing with this, adding the feature, breaking all my code, what I can do is I can tell Git, I want you to take all the code here and I want you to branch it off into this new sort of like save point, right? But everything I save here, everything I edit here, I don't want to mess with this branch. Cool? Does that kind of make sense? Are there questions so far? Conceptually, this takes a little bit, for me at least, it took a little bit to click. And we'll see it in practice, but I want to get the concept out there. Questions? Good so far? Okay, cool. So what I would do is I would branch off. I type some commands in. I tell Git, make a new branch that I can make all my changes on. And then here, maybe I make a save. I make another save here. This one kind of sucks. This is not the, let me see. Let me see if I can find a simpler. Where's one with the, here we go. Everybody see that? This is a much simpler version of it. So I have like right here, my code works. I branch off. I do some coding. I save. This big dot is a save. This big dot is a save. This big dot is a save. And then, so I finished it. It totally works. And now I want to, I want to take this code that works and I want to make it part of the master branch, right? So I do what's called a merge, and you can see that's what this line is here. And now when I get to this last dot right here, this last dot will have all the code that we started with, plus all the new code that I wrote, tested, made sure worked, and now I can merge it into the master branch. And the master branch will be like, that's what goes into production, or that's what you're going to push up to your server, and we know that that always works. Does that make sense? So it's a way to control versions. And I can branch off here. Juan can have his own branch, which he's working on his own feature, and he can merge that into my branch, or he can merge it into master. It can get complicated pretty quickly. We're just going to go over the very simple basics of it when we get started. Cool? Questions? I see some confused faces. Questions? All right, let's check it out in action, and maybe that'll help look at a little bit more. Okay, so in order to get started with this, I want to start a project. Did I not open the right thing? What is terminal notifier? Just give me the terminal. Where'd my terminal go? Yeah, my iTerm drops down like this, and you can't see it, which is annoying. So I usually just use terminal. No one can see this, can they? All right, that's okay. We're only gonna use it for like 3 seconds, and then I'm gonna use VS Code. I want to make a new. I want to make a new folder on my desktop, and I want to call it JavaScript practice. Can someone talk me through what I need to type to do that? I want to make a new CD desktop. What is that? What does CD mean? Changed. What is it? Go to. It means go to. Sure. However you need to log into your brain, but it's change directory, right? And we remember this from yesterday. This is so now I'm in my desktop. I know this is hard to see, but I'm in my desktop. And remember, this is just a different way of navigating through your computer. This is the same as if I went to like my Finder and I clicked on desktop, and now I'm here. Same thing, except we're not using the GUI, we're using the terminal. Now I want to make a new folder. I want to call it, what did I say? JavaScript practice. How do I make a new folder? MKDIR, Java, whatever. No, JavaScript practice. Cool. So I've made that. Now you've probably noticed from yesterday, the terminal does not give you like a thumbs up or like you did it, right? If nothing happens, if the terminal doesn't spit anything back, that's the way the terminal tells you success, right? By saying nothing. So I can confirm for how do I confirm that this got made? Is there a way that I can see all of the different folders that are in my? ls is going to show me all of my folders. We can see them here visually, but now we can also see them in my terminal. So I have a couple of different folders here. I want to open my JavaScript practice folder that I just made. I want to open that in VS Code. How do I do that?
Oh, no.
Touch is to make a new file. Code. Just code. So yeah, I can do this two ways. I can cd into, so I can change directory into the new file I made. Code dot, oh wait, in the terminal at least, and when we code too, we'd be doing like relative path stuff. Dot usually symbolizes like where I'm at right now. So in this case, it's the same as typing code JavaScript practice, right? Because I'm in JavaScript practice. So I can do that.
You have to put a dot?
Yes, you have to put a dot. I don't know. Code, if I just do code, oh, I guess you can just do code. I learned something new. There is no file in here though. So we're always learning. I can also, if I cd back out, I can also pass code like the actual name of the file and do it that way. So just two ways to do the same thing. But now I'm in my VS Code. Let me change it to, I think it's easier to see if it's the light theme, which I find disgusting, but it's easier to see. Yeah. But it'll be easier in the long run. Okay. Now that I'm in VS Code, thank you for hitting the lights. Now that I'm in VS Code, I'm not going to need my iTerm anymore, so I'm not going to need that because VS Code has the terminal built in, which is sweet. How can I get the terminal though? Where the hell did it go? Yeah, command tick thing. Perfect. That's how I would write it. Command tick thing, and that will give me the terminal. I can also just drag from the bottom, although as we can see, this is annoying. You can just drag it from the bottom too. Cool, so here's my terminal, same thing. I'm in JavaScript practice. Now I wanna make a file. I just wanna make a JavaScript file. We'll just call it my script. So how do I make a JavaScript file called my script? What'd you say, Juan? Touch what? My script, whoops, script.js. Enter. Cool, and we get visual confirmation. So Visual Studio Code will give me all the whatever directory I'm in will be up here. You can barely see it. There it is, JavaScript practice. And then everything inside of where I'm at will be listed here. And right now we're dealing with 1-2 files. In a couple weeks, there will be dozens, hundreds of files here that we'll learn how to navigate through. So now I can just click on this here and Visual Studio Code will open the file for me. So now I have the file. And then again, I still have ls, so I can do ls and list it down here as well. Cool? All right. So now we're going to write a program and it's going to, oh, we got to blow this up. Down. Can everybody see this? Okay, so our program is going to console.log. Hello. That's it. That's all it's going to do. Cool. How do I run this? Oh my God, look at that, it works. Cool. So now I have this amazing program and I want to start tracking changes that I make with it, make to it with Git. We installed Git on day 1, so you shouldn't have to install it. We can start using it right away. So I have to do a couple of things. First, I have to tell Git, hey, I want you to start tracking this project. I want you to start tracking this file. So I can start that by, is it initializing? Initiating? Yeah, git init. And I can't remember if it's initializer. But anyway, I want to say start tracking this file, and I do that by saying git. So anytime I want to interact with Git, I'm going to start my command with git. That tells the computer, hey, I want to use Git to do this. I'm going to say git init, and that is going to start tracking this file. So if I press that, it'll say initializing empty Git repository. It'll tell me the path to where it's keeping track of. And you'll notice some parentheses showed up next to my prompt here. Yours might look a little different. So you can see like my, John was talking about his bash profile. has like the path and it has different colors. I think his are like green or yellow. Mine is just, I have mine set to just show me the file I'm in. So it'll look a little bit different on your machine, but that's okay. The important thing that you'll see is you will see parentheses, guaranteed, with master. You might not see this little hashtag, don't worry about that. You'll see the parentheses and master. So this is that master branch I talked about. This is my main source of truth for my Git repository, okay? So now I'm tracking everything, or now I have the ability to track everything that I'm doing in this folder with Git. I want to point something out. So if I do ls, I still only have my script, but there are files, folders on your computer. There's also, I think they're called hidden files and folders on your computer, and these are usually files or folders that start with dot. And all that means, the reason they're hidden is because someone who is just like a casual user of the computer, they don't need to know, right? They don't need to use these files, they don't need to see them, and messing with them could mess stuff up, so they're usually hidden. But if I want to see all the hidden files and folders in my directory, I can do ls and I can pass it -a for all, show me everything. And so if I do that, you can see dot will represent where I'm at right now. You'll see ... that's going up the folder. We don't need to worry about those. But you'll see that I have .git. This folder got created when I did git init, right? We can even see it over here if I go into the Finder and desktop, JavaScript practice. Oh, I don't have this set up to show me. All right, I lied. We can't see it. You have to tell your computer to show you hidden files, and I just reinstalled everything, so I don't think I have that set up. I'm not going to try to solve that problem right now. We can see it here. Just trust me, it's there. Okay. We can cd into .git, and I'm going to clear so we can see more. And I can do ls-a, and we can see there's a bunch of stuff in here, right? You don't have to know what any of this is. You're never going to mess with it. Just know that these are the files and folders that Git uses in order to work, right? So I'm going to cd back out. And just to show you, so when I open a directory in my terminal, you're going to have two ways to know, hey, is this project being tracked by Git? The first one and the easiest one is that you're going to immediately see this, right? So if I pull something down from GitHub and it already has Git like working for it, this will just show up automatically, right? The other way is if I do ls-a, I can see that I have a Git directory as well. If I remove that directory, rf, I think, .git, you'll see that this vanishes and Git is no longer keeping track. And I lose all, so you basically never want to do that because you will lose everything, right? Yep, I can do ls-a and it's gone. Yeah, good question. I'm very much of that, like, I want to see it, I want to see it, I want to see it. I am someone who confirms console logs every line of my code. Yes?
So, my understanding, we do the git init, the directory becomes the master branch, so it's just the directory, right? Okay.
Well, so it's keeping track of the directory and everything inside of it.
Subdirectories.
Yes, yes, yeah, and the subdirectories. So I'm going to do git init again to get me an ls-a. We can see that I have my Git folder back. I'm going to type clear. If I'm going too fast, tell me to slow down. Okay, so now that I have this Git repository, I can ask it a couple of different things. I can say Git Status, and that's going to show me just some information about what's going on in my project right now. It'll show me the branch that I'm on. Right now I'm on master. We're not dealing with any other branches yet. We'll get to that in a second. No commits yet. I'll talk about what that means. And then it says I have untracked files. And what that means is we have this Git repository, but we haven't told it to keep track of anything specifically yet. So it has no save points. It's not really doing any work for us yet. But it does see that I have a file. It says, hey, there's a file in your directory, but you didn't tell me to start saving its state yet. So I don't really know what to do with it, but it is there, right? So nothing added to commit, untracked files, etc. Okay, so what I want to do is tell Git, like, hey, I'm this master branch. I want you to start keeping track of the changes that I make to my script.js. Cool? So there's a couple of steps I need to do that. In Git, you're gonna hear this over and over again. Git commit. You're gonna get used to doing it. You're gonna do it a lot. Git commit, and a commit is just a save point. The difference between a commit and like when you save like a Word file is, like I said before, like if I'm saving Microsoft Word file, it's overwriting what I did before, right? Just saving most up to date. Commits save the state at that point. So where did my thing go? Pull this back over here. So these dots here we can think of as save points, right? So I saved it here, I saved it here, I saved it here. And what's nice about this is at any point, I could be all the way here at the end, and I could say, hey, actually, I want to see what my project looked like 2-3 saves ago. I can actually go back and check out everything I saw here, right? So I get all these different stages of my project. Let's shrink that back down. Okay, so how do I do that? So first I'm going to do Git Add, and this is telling Git, I want you to start keeping track of this file. So there's two things I can do here. What you will normally do, because you will have dozens of files and adding them all at once, or files and folders, adding them one at a time is tedious. You could do Git dot, and that'll say, just take every single thing in here that you're not keeping track of and start keeping track of it. Or I can pass it a specific file. I can just say Git add this. Cool. Now I'm still not saved. I still haven't saved this yet. What I've done is called staging. I've basically set this up to be saved, but it is not saved yet. So now if I do Git Status, actually I don't remember what it'll say. Yeah, it'll say no commits yet, so you still haven't saved, but changes to be committed, you have a new file. Yeah, a new file that it's keeping track of. And we can see that's different from what here it was red. It said untracked files, and now here it says, oh, there's changes. I'm keeping track of this file, but you haven't told me to save yet. So now, this the process is Git add, and then after I've added everything, then I can do a commit. I do Git commit, then I do -m. This is for message. Every time I save, I want to leave a message about either what I did, what I accomplished, or what the state of my file is at that point. When we, then in quotes, I can just pass it any message, and this will get saved with the commit so that I will be able to see, like I have a reminder, right? So I could say like, created console log or something, right? What I'm actually going to do is do initial commit. It's kind of common for your first commit, the first save you do, to just call it initial commit. That's just kind of a standard, but you can do whatever the hell you want. And we do that. Okay, cool. So now one file changed, and it's keeping track of it. So now if I do Git Status, it's going to tell me I'm on branch master and I have nothing to commit. Working on clean tree means I'm keeping track of all the changes and everything is cool, right? Now if I come back down here and I make some, maybe if I make any change here, if I just, instead of console logging hello, I say what up, what up. I can't type, what up. And then I come back down here and I do Git Status. It'll tell me, oh, you modified the script, but you didn't save it yet. So then again, I would have to do Git Add. I'm just going to do dot Git Commit -m. Said what up. Cool. And now again, Git Status. Boom. Working on clean tree. Questions?
So is that I noticed before you did the commit, you had a plus sign.
Yeah.
Master. So is that just telling you once that plus sign gone, hey, you're working on clean tree?
Yeah, and unfortunately, you're not going to have these. I have these symbols set up in my. It's in my bash, which I will post. And my bash is a mess because I've just been like adding, and then you add something and I don't even remember how it works. So you're welcome to sift through and see if you can figure out what code is doing this for me because I don't even remember. But Git Status will always get you where you want to go. So if you don't have these symbols, you can do Git Status. Cool. Okay.
Can you go back to where now because you committed twice?
Yep.
Is that what you're questioning?
I wasn't, but that's a good idea. Let's do, so I had Git Status, which tells me like, you know, just where am I at? Do I have untracked files, etc. I can also do, so I can do Git Branch, and that'll show me all my branches. Right now, we don't have a new branch. We're going to do that in a minute. But it just shows me, hey, you're on master branch and you don't have any others. And then what is the command? Oh, Git Log. Git Log will show me all my commits. So we made 2 commits, and you can see them right here. They are given this big, long, annoying number that you don't have to remember, but this is how we would check out to it. And you can see there, so the most recent one will be at the top. So said what up, and then initial commit is right here. We could go back to initial commit, and we do that by doing Git Checkout, and then I have to copy this number. This is where it starts to get a little dicey. And so now I've checked out to that branch. You can see my code changed to hello, because that was the state at that time, right? I could do a couple of different things here. I could save these new changes to a new branch and then merge it into master. I could mess with it. I'm just going to do Git Checkout master and get back to my master branch and start and go there. But that's how I would do it. Go to a different commit. Go ahead, Holly.
Could you also just do Git dot and get out of that first branch, or get out of what you just went into, or no?
No. That would add it to. Let's do it. So does everybody know, huge time saver, if you press up on your keyboard, you're going to get recent things you did. So we'll do Git Checkout. We'll check back out here. I do Git Add. I'm actually not sure what's going to happen here. It's going to do nothing, I think, because this commit, we haven't made any changes.
I see.
So what do I do?
Oh, I thought you could do like where it takes you back one.
Oh, like no, it doesn't work like a file directory. No, it's not going to work like a file directory. All right, so let's go back to master. Okay, so we have this. This is our working program, right? But now I want to add a feature, and the huge feature that I'm going to add is I'm just going to add a variable, right? But I don't want to mess with my master branch. So the way this would work, like if you were on the job, is you would be given this repository. It would probably already be on the master, and you would say, okay, I want to do my work, and then I want to make sure I have no bugs in my work, and then I want to like merge it, right? So before I do any work, and I would get in the habit, this is not going to be necessary for you to do with the challenges, at least for the first few weeks, but it's a good habit to get into, and we'll go over it. But you might have noticed, like if you pulled down like Def Grandma, you might have already seen master or something like that here. And it's always a good idea, even on my own projects, when I pull my own projects down, when I'm going to mess with anything, I always check out to a new branch, right? Because that way I'm not going to mess with code or I'm not going to break code that works. So if I want a new branch, I'm going to do Git Checkout. And then before I just passed it like the number for the commit, or I could pass the branch name, but if I want to make a new branch, I could do -B. I'm pretty sure it stands for branch, but who knows? And then I can name my branch whatever I want. I'm going to name it new branch just to be like really specific. And when I do that, you can see switched to new branch, which is redundant, but whatever. We could have called it whatever we wanted. And now you can see in the parentheses, it's telling me I'm on this branch. I'm going to do Git Status and nothing to commit because I haven't made any changes yet. I haven't messed with my file. I haven't done anything. I can do Git, wait, what was the other thing? Oh, and now if I do Git Branch, now you can see here's the master branch, but I'm on new branch. So it'll show me where I'm at. Cool. All right. Okay, so let's make a change to this file. Let's come down here, and let's just make a variable. I'm just gonna say hello to myself. I'm gonna say what up to myself. So I have this variable name. We're gonna do some JavaScript review later, but let's just do a little bit now. How do I make this say what up and then pass it this variable? Does anybody remember how to do this string interpolation in JavaScript? $, and then what, Juan? Keep going. Curly bracket. What do I put inside the curly brackets? Yeah, name. We're almost there. This is not going to work. Let's see if we run this. Node.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just going to literate. So I have to do the tick marks if I want to do the interpolation. We'll go over this again. Cool. So now my program says, "What up, Josh?" Sweet. Okay, totally works. Let's get rid of these. Cool. Questions? Cool. So I've made some changes. If I do git status, it says you've modified my script. You have some things that you might want to commit. Does anybody remember? How do I commit these changes?
Git commit.
Git commit, you're missing one thing.
Git add.
Oh, yeah.
Git add, yep. I can pass the file or I can just do dot. I'm just going to do dot because that's what I'm used to. Now if I do git status, you can see that it is staged, but it's still changes need to be committed. And I complete the process by doing git commit -m for message, added var, added a variable, good, git status, cool, nothing to commit, working on clean tree. Okay, last thing that I want to go over, once I know I have code that works, how do I merge it back into master, right? So I'm going to do git checkout. This is how I change branch. Change which branch I'm on, always git checkout, and then I'm going to go to the master branch. So I want you to watch up here what happens to my code up in the my script, okay? When I check out to master, it's going to change because this is the state of master last time we committed, right? What I want to do is take the stuff that was in new branch, merge it into master, and that is pretty simple. I do git merge, and then I tell it what branch I want to pull the changes in from, and that was new branch. And if there's no conflicts, it'll just merge. And so now I have everything here on my master branch. I should be able to run it just like before. Where the hell is that? And it still works. Cool. Those are the basics. Git can do way more, and it can get way more complicated. You're going to dig a little bit deeper into it with one of the challenges today. We are also going to have someone from DRW come and do like a whole day on how Git works and other things you can do with it. You'll know more about Git than you want to know. But this is the basics that you need to know for right now just to get started. Questions?
So when you make a branch off the master, for that branch, should you just be modifying like the part of, I guess, the script that wouldn't necessarily affect the rest? Because when you try to merge with like two different branches in the master, you don't want them to conflict.
Yeah.
So typically with a whole branch, you just want to try to isolate without effect.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Possible, it's not really gonna, when it merges, it's not gonna deconflict.
Right. So like, yeah, like what if I delete, or like what if I replace the line that existed in master with something from my new branch, right? Those are gonna conflict, right? Ideally, yes, you want to avoid that. Realistically, you're gonna get what's called a merge conflict. Let's see if we can make that happen, and just see how to deal with that. Let's make a new branch. I'm not sure this is gonna work. So merge conflicts happen all the time when you don't want to, and now I'm gonna try to do it on purpose, and it's probably not gonna work, but I'll try it. Okay, so let's do git checkout -b, and we'll say, we'll call it conflict. Cool, so now I'm on this new branch. Let's see if I delete this whole line, and I just do, this is a conflict. I'm gonna add it. Don't write commit messages the way I'm doing it. Do as I say, not as I do. Edits. Cool. Git checkout master. Okay, so now let's do git merge. What did I call that? Conflict? Conflict. Oh no, it just changed it. Damn it, how do I make it conflict?
Sorry about that.
change the other, which branch?
You can either change master or the other branch that you put. Change the master to like just put something else. Because you're trying to.
Oh, because I'm merging. Okay,
Yeah,
so if I
so
change
change.
master to
Another, just put another sentence. It's two different things.
let's actually do this. Let's do okay, I guess it doesn't matter. So now if I do Git Checkout conflict, I'm gonna do Git Add. I can't remember how to do this. Git Commit. It's going to do the same thing. It's just going to overwrite it. It's not going to conflict. I'm pretty sure.
You already do a git push?
We can't push because we're not hooked up to GitHub yet. All right, well, I will try to remember how to force a merge conflict, and we'll go over how to do it later, because I can't remember how to make it happen right now. Weird. Cool. Oh yeah, if I change master while that other branch is.
A newer version of master.
So if I. Right. Maybe. Let's not waste any more time on this. It's a really good question, and you're going to have to deal with merge conflicts, and they are not the end of the world. And I will make I will make sure to revisit this idea. Okay. Cool. Any other questions about Git? Yes.
Okay, let's say you got the master and the other branch, and you merge them at the end. What happens to the other branch?
It's still there. Still there.
And you can make changes after that.
Yep.
Okay.
You can merge over. You can keep merging. And I think you're absolutely right. I think like if I'm off on the branch and I'm making all these changes, and as I'm making those changes, someone makes changes to master, and then I try to merge, that's where I'm going to get those conflicts. But pull is for GitHub. Git pull is for GitHub, which we will get to. But are there any other questions about Git locally? And like I said, it can do way more and it can get way more complicated. But what I need you to understand is committing, branching, and merging. Pretty good on that? Committing, branching, and merging? Cool. Okay. Where are we at on time? Do we need a break? Let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back. We'll talk about GitHub. We'll do a couple more things. 5 minutes. I can't say. Okay, so I do Git Checkout new branch. Now I'm here. And I write a bunch of stuff. And Git Checkout master. I can't read it. Master, and then I mess with master. I do like this. That might not work. What if I?
I'm trying to think. Because it usually happens when there's like 2 branches, and somebody merges one branch in before the other branch comes back.
Right. I knew this was gonna. It's like it has happened to me hundreds of times, and each time I've been like shit, and now I can't get it to work, or I can't make it happen because I don't really.
Well, if you change the master and you try to do a git pull to your local branch.
Or a merge, you mean?
No, because if you're like a git pull, because we changed stuff in the master, your current branch isn't updated with the new changes. So if you did a git pull, it's gonna say, "Are you sure?" Like the changes in the new branch aren't matched with the changes in your current branch. What would you like to do? I've seen that happen, and you're like, darn it, somebody pushed up theirs to the master, and now mine is.
I thought poll was only to get it off GitHub, but maybe I'm wrong.
I'll send out a cheat sheet that I
No, I
have,
can't
unless
do
I
it.
have one already.
There it is. Cool. No one was here to see it.
Isn't that what it always feels like?
This is what it'll do if there are conflicts. I'll keep this up so I can at least show people how to fix it. Cool, teamwork. We solved it by breaking. No, it's just, I just had to make changes to master after I committed on the other branch. Okay, so most of you left. We did manage to get a merge conflict to happen, which is like we tried to merge two branches and they basically did not agree. And this is what you'll see, right? And so it'll show you this crazy thing. VS Code is great. It kind of does all this work for you. If you were doing this in some other editor, you would probably just like delete. You could just like delete this and you would pick what you want. But essentially what it's going to say is, do you want to accept the current changes? Do you want to accept the incoming changes? Do you want to accept both? But it'll give you these options, and if I just click one, it'll kind of handle it all for me, which is pretty nice. Or I could just say, okay, you know what I actually want? Like I want console.log and this, and I can just delete that, and just like, you just edit it, get it to where you want it to go. You probably run your tests to make sure it still works. And then you can see down here, it says I'm on master, and it has this merging. This is because I had a conflict. And once I resolve the conflict, in order to just like get me back to where I need to be, I just have to do another commit. So I think I have to do Git Add again. No, maybe not. I don't know. Git Commit -m fix conflicts. Cool. And now I'm back on master and everything's fine. Cool. So if you see a merge conflict, don't panic. Maybe panic a little, but you'll work it. Cool. That's what it's going to look like. Okay. So that's Git. Let's talk about GitHub. Actually, nope. All right, so as Christina was saying earlier, GitHub is basically just a place for us to store our Git repositories in the cloud. So we'll go to India Platoon. And this is how we keep track of all of our curriculum and how you'll be accessing all of our challenges. So let's go to yesterday and we'll look at, real quick, just a little bit about GitHub. So you can see like mine's pretty pathetic, but I'll show it to you. So you can have a profile, you've probably seen that, right? You can upload a picture and then you can, I think they were talking about this a little bit, like employers will absolutely look at your GitHub. Like that'll be one of the first places that they go, right? So they have some nice features, like you can choose a couple of repositories that you own to like kind of be on your front page. But you can see like, I don't know why it's taking forever to load. Here's like a list of every repository I've ever touched, right? There's a ton of them because I'm constantly updating code platoon stuff. This is important down here too. This is kind of a graph of how many things you've pushed up to GitHub and like how many changes that you've made that have gotten like merged. So basically it's just tracking how much code did you write that actually got used. And you want more green, the better. The more green, the better, right? So you can see in December when we were off, I did nothing. And then as soon as we came back, I got a bunch of green again because I was constantly working on stuff, right? I would actually try, this was, I should have coded in December. So like you want to try to keep this as green as possible. Cool. So this is just like quickly, as you can see the organizations I belong to. This is something that as we go forward, and the alum mentioned, like we're going to work on your resume, we're going to work on your LinkedIn, and we're going to talk about getting your GitHub up to speed. So we're going to work on this stuff periodically as we go. And you'll want like projects that you've worked on and stuff to be here. Okay, so that's that. GitHub is also, how many people have heard the term open source? What is open source? What does that mean when code is open source?
You can contribute and pull from it without just.
Yep. Yep. So the Python framework that we're going to use in a few weeks is called Django. It's an open source framework, right? So that means I can use it as much as I want for free, but also this is all the code that makes it work. Like it's open, I can see it. So like something that isn't open source would be like I don't know, what's something that's not open source? I don't know, like Microsoft's anything is not open source, which means that like when I get the code, when I like load it on my computer, what I'm really getting is machine code, which is just lists of zeros and ones. It is completely unreadable and it is impossible to figure out like what functions are there and what variables they say. You can't see any of that, right? Because when you finally get it, it's an executable and it's just zeros and ones. So only your computer can read it. But open source code, I can click through and we'll probably start to recognize some of this right away. Like we're gonna have to dig pretty deep. Show me some code. There we go. So we can see some Python code right here. We can see all the code that makes Django work. So that's open source. You'll see a couple of things up here. One thing that's pretty important to note is stars. How many stars does a repo have? So Django's huge, and it has 41,000 stars, which means it's constantly, like people are using it, they like it. Fork we'll get to in a second, but if it has a high level of forks, that's a good sign. We're going to use a lot of outside libraries as we keep going. Django's just one of them. And you'll start to discover, like, as you encounter problems, one of the first things you're going to want to do is, before you even try to solve it yourself, go see if someone else solved it. Someone else already wrote code and it's solid code that solves it, just use that. But how do you know it's solid? Like, how do you know it works? How do you know it's going to be kept up to date? We have GitHub gives us a couple of ways to know, like, oh, this is actually like good code that's going to be maintained that I can use. One is it starred? Is it forked? Another is down here, we can see these are all the last commits. So this is the last time someone made changes to this code base, and you can see 3 hours ago, 2 months ago. This is something that's constantly being maintained. If you look down this thing and all of these say 3, 4, 5 years ago, that might not be good code anymore, right? You have no way of knowing if that's being maintained. Cool. So that's just like, sorry, like a mini tour of GitHub. Question? Cool. Okay, so let's go back to how we use this with our challenges. So here's the workflow from now on that I want you to use when you do all the challenges at Platoon. So we're going to click on Def Grandma. And so this is going to take you, India Platoon is our, I can't remember what it's called. Cohort, yeah, like company, something. Def Grandma is the repository, but like it's owned by India Platoon. There's a word for it, it's escaping me, but it's like our organization is India Platoon and Def Grandma. We don't want you making any changes to this, right? I don't want anybody actually like accidentally like pushing up all the answers or messing with this, right? And if you work on open source projects, like if you wanted to contribute to the Django code base, you could. The way you normally do it is, instead of working on it directly, you do what's called forking. So you click this button right here and you fork it. Did I already fork this? You forked Def Grandma. Just so I can show you forking. I'll fork all of the Django stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna fork Django. So what does that mean? I'm gonna click fork. I have all these different places I can fork it, but I'm gonna fork it to my personal GitHub. And so I'm gonna click my name, and you get this nice little graphic. It's just taking forever. Cool. So now notice what changed. Now it says Giletto, which is me, / Django, as opposed to what we had before, which was, yeah, Django / Django. So now what I've essentially done is I've said, take this repo and just copy it into like my GitHub, right? Like my organization. And now I have a copy of it. So now I can mess with it. I can do stuff with it. I can push up to it, and it's not going to affect like the actual Django code base. Does that make sense? So when you're working on stuff for Code Platoon, the first thing I want you to do is fork it, right? You'll fork it over into your repository. Oh wait, fork again to a different. Oh, I didn't already fork it. My bad. So I'll do it. All these organizations that keep up. Cool. So now I've forked it, and now you'll see my GitHub name / whatever the repo is. And now I can start working on it, right? So how do I get this repo, which is in the cloud, which is on GitHub, how do I get it onto my machine now? What's up? I'm gonna clone it. So here's how that works. Right here, you're gonna see this cloner download. I wanna make sure this says HTTPS. You can also use SSH, but we're not gonna do that. So I'm gonna use HTTPS. I'm just gonna click, I can either copy this or I can click here, it'll copy the path to my clipboard. And then I want to go into my terminal. I wanna be in the directory where I want this to be. I'm gonna clone it to my desktop. I'm gonna do Git Clone, and then I'm just gonna paste that URL. Hit that, it's gonna clone it down. You can see it popped up somewhere, right here. But it will also be in my directory, def grandma, right? Now, I'm gonna code def grandma, open it up here. And then I could work on master if I wanted, but like I said, I think it's a good idea to just get into the habit of switching to a new branch. So I'm gonna do Git Checkout -B. Normally I would call the branch something like, if I was adding a feature, so like, you know, like, I don't know, adding CSS styles or whatever. But for these challenges, you can just call it your name. That's fine. Check out to my branch, cool. And now I can start working on def grandma. I can make all my changes. Let's just do return, it works. Cool, I solved it. I'm gonna do Git Add, Git Commit -M. Solved. Cool. Git Status. So now it's just like working with Git from before, because I pulled it to my machine. And then from here, you're fine. You don't have to push it back up to GitHub. But if I wanted to, if you want like me or John to review your code, or you just want to have it in the cloud so that you can have it saved somewhere, the way I do that is I do git push origin and then the name of my branch. So origin is just the repo up here. So I want to push this. I want to push a branch to origin. Origin is just GitHub for now. You can think of it that way. And what branch do I want to push? I want to push the branch Josh. I'm gonna click this. Come up here. Cool. So I've pushed it. Now there's one more step I need to do. I feel like I moved really fast. So let me just review real quick. I pull it, I clone it down. That just means take it from the cloud, put it on my computer. That's cloning. So I clone it down, check out to a new branch, make all my changes, commit them. Then I do git push. I push it back up, right? Clone it down, push it up. Well, after I push it up, I have to do one more step. So if you look here now, this new thing is here. It says, it's the name of the branch, and it's telling me like, when did I push it up? I have to do what's called create a pull request. So I'm gonna click this, and I'm gonna get some different things here. It's gonna, basically what it's saying is, do you wanna compare it to the India Platoon master branch? Or I can go, I think I can find my own, right? Or do I wanna compare it to the copy that I made? Does that make sense? Do I wanna compare it to the original, or do I wanna compare it to the copy I made? For now, I'm gonna compare it to the copy I made. Cool. So it's going to say, can I merge the Josh branch into the master branch of the copy? Cool. I know it's confusing. It's saying, yeah, that's fine. You can do that. I'm going to click. We don't need any of this. I could write a little message. I can tag John. He'll be like, why are you tagging me? What is his thing? All right, I can't tag him because it's not autocomplete and I don't remember what his GitHub is, but I could if I wanted to. I'm gonna click create pull request. Cool. Okay, so important thing to note is basically what I've done is I've said I have a branch, I've made changes, and I want someone to look at them before it's actually merged into master. So I haven't merged yet. And when you're on your job, you will not merge, right? Someone will, especially when you're junior. You'll write code, you'll push it up to GitHub, you'll write a little comment about what you did, you'll get to this screen basically, and then it probably won't even let you merge. It'll just say, cool, someone's gonna review this, and then someone else will merge the code for you, right? Because this is my repo and it's my copy, I can click this, and GitHub will perform the merge for me instead of me having to do it locally. It'll merge it into the master. If I do that, I'm just gonna do it. And then we go back to my deaf grandma, and we look at, you can see the return it works that I wrote is now merged into the master. Cool. So, quick review. When we're working with stuff on GitHub, I'm gonna fork it, I'm gonna clone it, I'm gonna check out to a new branch, make my changes, commit, push it back up. Cool? And then if you want to tag me or John to look over it, you can, right? But we do not have the bandwidth to grade every single thing, and it's not necessary for us to grade every single thing you do. But if you want us to look over it, we will. Okay? Cool. All right, so that's Git and GitHub. Are there any questions? It's quite a bit.
You said check out the new branch, then we'll follow it.
Pull it down, check out to new branch, make all my changes, commit them, then push it back up. Git push origin branch name. Feel good? Cool.